Good afternoon, everyone. It is Friday, June 5th, 2020. We're carrying over into another month of the COVID-19 crisis. I saw a note from Cindy Brooks this morning to the Mesilla Valley Jazz and Blues Society friends, and she sent some active links with some things for people to listen to and experience while they're stuck at home, all hunkered down. And it dawned on me that I got transitioned in early March to fully online teaching, and I've been doing nothing but standing at this computer for 12, 14 hours a day, teaching college students nonstop since then. And I've also been doing some kind of deep dives in some things I've been wanting to discover as I'm stuck here at the computer grading all day, but I can have music on in the background. And just recently I've gotten really interested, I knew some of this, but not a lot, of how French vocal jazz sort of evolved. And I've made a playlist for the Mesilla Valley Friends of Jazz, and of course feel free to share this with anyone you like. This little introductory video will take you through it, and then you can just listen through them. And of course from here, there's mountains of other stuff to discover. The playlist, as I set it up, starts with Blossom Dearie, who's actually an American pianist. She's often known as a cult vocalist, but she went to France. She spent a lot of time there, and there was a group called the Blue Stars, and she sort of adapted that group to her writing and started writing charts for them. So you've got a thing with some French musicians in Blossom, and then you've got some of the Blue Star tracks, some with Blossom, some without. And that group led to Les Double Six, the Double Six. And what it is a six-person vocal group, but they were some of the first to use tracking techniques, and they would double their voices. So she made, Mimi Perrine, made a choir of 12 voices by double tracking their voices a lot of times. They did live stuff too, though. You've got several live performances, and you can sort of hear how the group evolves. This is Boplicity, famous from the Birth of the Cool album by Miles Davis. Here's a 1964 version of Four Brothers. And then a little further down, there's this German TV performance from about a year and a half later. And you can hear how the group has evolved. It's a few other good tracks for you, Billy Bailey. From the first album, Scrapple from the album from Les Double Six. I also will point you to, and I didn't include a link for this, but if you do Spotify, there's a ton of Double Six on Spotify, and of course there's a ton of Swingle Singers, which I'll get to in a second, and lots of other cool stuff as well. One of the singers who passed through Double Six was, my French is terrible, sorry, was Ward Swingle, who again was an American, but he married a French woman, spent a lot of time in Paris, and he put together a subsequent group that bridged the gap of classical music and jazz a little more, called the Swingle Singers. Some of you probably remember those famous albums where they did Bach transcriptions. They made a great record with Modern Jazz Quartet. This is a really interesting sort of promotional video that I found of how they were recording some of that stuff. If you read music, watch this. It's pretty cool. If you don't, just close your eyes and listen. This is a transcription. This is a written transcription of their Fugue in G minor, which is one of their most famous recordings. This is actually an original, not Bach's manuscript, but one of his transcribers from the late 1700s. And this is them singing one of his famous pieces. Then I put a couple of tracks from the Modern Jazz Quartet album. Of course, again, that's all on Spotify if you want to go discover more of it. They did a subsequent album called Jazz Sebastian Bach. The group had morphed a little bit by that time. And this is the first link of a bunch on YouTube. You can click on that, open it in another window, and you can listen to all kind of cool stuff. Ward Swingle reinvented the group in the 1970s, and it was called Swingle Singers 2. Oddly enough. And it was more of a classically oriented group. This is a really cool TV show. Don't freak out. It starts in another language, but they go to English. God bless them very quickly. This is a new group that I've discovered recently. This is the Voice Messengers, again from France. But the Mimi Melody, this is their version of Mimi Perrine arrangements from Double Six. And it's a little bit of a show production, but my goodness, these people can sing. And then here's a wonderful hour-long show of Nikki Perrott. If you've come over to the Roswell Jazz Festival, Nikki Perrott is a regular on the Roswell Jazz Festivals. And here she's doing a tribute to Blossom Dearie, and about halfway through, she tells the story I just told about the Blue Stars and how Blossom spent time in Paris, which is really cool. And then finally, as I say on the playlist, French Jazz and a little more. I also put a nice link, because it's on the internet. You know, if you don't know Jacques Louzier, I encourage you to discover him. He's a French pianist who really specialized in taking classical music and turning it into jazz. And it's just some of the most beautiful stuff you'll ever hear. It's just a fantastic place. So just a little something for the Friends of Jazz while we're all stuck at home. give you a little something to discover. If everybody likes this, let me know. I'll do some more. If you hate it, let me know, and I won't. Stay safe, everybody.